Okay, heaven is not a home to those who betray their own selves. See, heaven is not a concept that needs to be somewhere off into the clouds. Like, get your head out of the clouds and come back to earth. So that, and get to a place of comprehending that, first of all, it's not that difficult to tell the truth. It's really not. Um, but heaven should not be a home and will not be a home to someone who refuses to accept, to tell, to acknowledge, and to live in the truth. Now, by living in the truth, that does not mean that there wouldn't be lies. Of course, we tell lies without even recognizing them. And when we have to be watchers of words, it is very aggravating because that takes away from the ability to be a human, and it's far from being godly. Okay. To not be bound by ridiculousness is what the goal should be. Nobody should be Nobody who is somebody should be subject to having to be a watcher of words. It all that does is make more of a mess than what we've been in already. And it has complicated the ability to be a human being, because speaking like this and having to think like this is what has made life a challenge, because of this, of the usage of witchcraft and the usage of spells and the usage of dark psychology and foolishness, manipulations, all for what? All in effort to try to basically be the god over somebody else, all the while not being a god. You see, I don't I don't have that much interest to be your queen or your goddess or any of that. These are titles that are for people that are simple minded in that degree, whereas they're appeased by things like that. I'm not appeased by things like that. I'm appeased by what appeases me is an opportunity to live life where I'm not bound by foolishness. It's very simple. It's not hard. I don't want to be raped. I don't like being taken advantage of, just as I'm sure you don't like being taken advantage of. Okay. And this whole thing, whereas the Jesus concept, you know that should be a lie, contingent upon what you're looking at in this world. This world is a fictitious concept. The world is not real. The earth is real. The world is a byproduct of the earth. When people get ahead of themselves, thinking that they should be sitting on top of the world or standing on the sun, it's craziness. It's absolutely crazy. This is what happens when you start living under these conditions of fate and destiny and putting all these rules. How about get out of that mentality and be the human instead of just resorting to being a beast that assumes that it's God? Be okay with humbling your own selves, because look what you've done to us. If you can't see what you've done to us on behalf of your greed, your selfishness, and your sick attempt to absolve yourself of having to take accountability for what you've been doing, you have no business sticking your penises inside of women that you don't recognize as women. You don't recognize them as women, because if you did, we wouldn't have to be having these conversations. You've been looking at us as if we were objects and tools, when it's really sad, because without women, you would have no home or body. You've delegated us to a position that is far from the truth. You have to come to a place of comprehension, of knowing that you were born from women. And then for you to look at us like we're trash, Obviously, we weren't that much of trash. If we can see you, if we can hear you, if you're breathing, what do you think that you're doing, or who do you think that you are to step all over the people that you depend upon the most? You say that you don't really care about life, and you say that you don't care about this earth when you put and introduced a Federal Reserve, when you introduced family courts, when you introduced the courts, when you introduced all of these concepts and all of these venues, of which you didn't ask us women whether we wanted anything to do with it. As a matter of fact, I never voted. So I'd probably be one, if there might be others, but one individual who's qualified to say these things without being put under some sort of stipulation. I don't vote. I don't believe in those doctrines. But yet you've been subjecting me to having to be under the authority of them as well, which is foolishness. I didn't consent to that. And furthermore, when you're stealing people's childhoods and you're subjecting them to observe and watch and be a participant of this craziness that you guys have introduced to the children, denying them of their own childhoods and then enslaving them. I know because I went through it, and there's others who have went through it. And here goes another thing. Someone who has gone through something like we did, or you did and I did, you're not going to be so much interested in putting someone else through that. You can't have that information and knowledge and think that you're an alleged good person by allowing someone else to suffer that. That's unhealthy, it's toxic, and it's crazy. And it's evil, really. Um, yes, compassion. Of course, there's room for compassion. You can always have compassion for someone who, one, did these things in error, they didn't know, or two, because they were groomed in that environment, whereas they're a child and they had a child's understanding and stuff like that. And then furthermore, when you're ignorant. So that's all the same, pretty much the same thing that I just got done saying. 1, 2, 3 concepts. You can might as well just put it as one concept. Like, if you're doing these things in ignorance, but when these things are being done strategically and informatively as well as knowingly, that's where compassion becomes less and less possible. I don't have too much appreciation for folks when they're literally strategically targeting individuals' lives and destroying and ripping them off. And like I said, taking advantage, exploiting them. This is ridiculous. There is enough earth for people to not have to live that way. That's a terrible way. And on top of that, you're literally like, do you want to die from suffocation? Because that's what you're doing. That's what you did. So how do you prevent that from happening? How do you ensure that you have a future? By listening to the voice of reason and truth rather than uh, continuing down a path of ego. That's a big ego for nothing, though. And telling the absolute truth, even if it's decorated in some lies, because unfortunately our perspectives allude to giving power to certain things that may or may not be true. But you also do have to sometimes go based upon your intuition or how your gut feeling. Unfortunately, because we've been crowded by so much what do you call that, apathy. We've been shrouded with apathy from these males and females, and that of course is insulting and it is offensive. um what is it? It's not a bad thing to be vulnerable. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be kind. It's okay to be a human being. There's nothing wrong with that. What I have an issue with, though, is this disrespect that comes from these males who have been spoiled like fucking goddamn, like as if they were kings. I wish that they had been kings. Why weren't they kings? They were living like they were worthy of living like that, but they didn't deserve that. What did they do to deserve such high quality living? And what did the females that were okay with being right next to him all the while being abused and abusing others to live that way? I'm glad that I didn't get the easy way, because it would have probably made me worse, in the worst position now, if I had been someone to be like, you know what, I don't care if other people are going through the hell. I know that they're suffering, but I'm going to be selfish and go ahead and live this luxurious life while I know that other people are suffering. I can't, I'm not one to do something like that. I'm not okay with that. And you should not be okay with that either. There's something very wrong with that, obviously. And again, it takes away from an opportunity to live a life to go down that path. So, with that being said, what did I learn overall? Everything is not what it seems, okay? And also, furthermore, is that it there's just too many games. I'd like to, if we're going to play a game, if we're going to have fun, if you're going to enjoy living, then be okay with being wrong for all the right reasons. And what do you mean by that? For instance, I'm not on the side of anyone right now except for that of truth. And then furthermore, I get tired of having to play the word witch game, the witch word games. Like I'm sick of those. You say you're Masons and shit like that, or you're this and you're part of this coven. I'm sick of it. It's stupid to me, because look at what it's done. Look at how many people it's enslaved. Okay. Another thing is that slavery is what do you want to call that? A necessary evil. Slavery is a necessary evil, but you need to know who is most justified for that position. Slavery is not bad either. Slavery, like I said, is a necessary. Let's take the word evil out of it and let's put condition. Slavery is a necessary condition. That sun and that moon are slaves. Do you not see them being slaves? Because you can see them without even looking at them. That's slavery. They're reliable. The sun and moon are reliable. The earth should be reliable. But people are too busy stealing from the earth as if the earth will always replenish their fucking asses and keep them safe and cozy. Fuck you. Fuck you. Listen to Hitler, perhaps. Perhaps you should listen to Hitler. What did he say? When I love you 100%. But if I hate you, I don't half-ass it, motherfucker. I really fucking hate you. And there's a justified reason for people to have hatred. To understand the beginning, I guess after this event, yeah, it makes sense as to why certain people ended up enslaved. It makes a ton of sense. And to have freed them has done what? Nothing but other than to destroy our very fucking lives. And that is pitiful. Because could you imagine you knowing all that you know and still continuing to literally rape women, steal the children, lounge around watching the fucked up ass football games, playing games with our home, destroying it, and thinking that they were going to go off into paradise? La-di-da-di-da, a whole new world. What the fuck? Built on the blood of children and actual real decent men. The fake ass God that people were okay with being under the rules of. That's a fake God. How about this? If there is a God worth giving your respect and condolences and all of that appreciation and compliments for and to. Let it be a God that you know for certain, one, that that is a God to give reverence to. And furthermore, learn how to be a human being first. If you haven't, didn't it say that made them in their likeness? Because if this is the likeness of a God, I'm telling you that is this is a ridiculous and worthless God that we had. I fired that God. That God is worthless because obviously look at the world. Look at this, look at the earth. Look at what has happened. Okay, hold on, give me one moment. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. And God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse, and it was so. And God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. Okay, well, let's get to the part where they start talking about the likeness. Okay. Yep. Saw that it was good. God said, "Let us make in our image, after our likeness." Okay, and these words that I'm not going to utter because this is pitiful. You're not to be having no type of nothing. So then God created in what? Whose image? And then talking about male and female. Well, there's the problem. Male and female, that's a problem right there. There's a problem right there. Because unless you're talking about a child, then this doesn't even this is nothing more than deception and just ridiculousness. Because a man and woman is what God should have been, in an image of man and woman. And God blessed them, said to them, "Be fruitful." You're not supposed to be subduing the earth. Okay. Saw everything that he had made and it was very good. Obviously, it wasn't that good. Obviously, it wasn't good. But I'll tell you what, um, according to what I have heard and seen and witnessed and been able to evaluate from the what should do I give them a credit of man? Uh, what I have recognized as far as who is a good stock of men, or who deserved a right or an entitlement to be given like first rights of reproductivity based upon their maturity, their behavior, their actions, their choices, how they maintain their homes and their families, and how they were a companion to women. Um, for sure, you know that first off, it's definitely what you would consider to be alleged white men. That's allegedly. I say allegedly because, as you can see, what had happened, all that tampering, we were altered. Many women, girls were altered, and the envy and jealousy that was posed towards who? Irish, posed towards German, posed towards Italian. And were there any others? Maybe, yeah, some other formulation of what is not a colored man. No, I'm sorry, but you don't get the luxury of saying that you guys were good fathers when I know what the experience was. And then people have been, uh, I guess you could say, fearful or uh, more so not willing to tell the truth, or if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. That's ridiculous. Like, if it's the truth and if it's offensive and it's a reoccurring pattern, like, seriously, your cock is too little. And thankfully it was too little, because it wasn't as painful to have to deal with that. But nonetheless, what these males did was rape. And they were so hell-bent on putting and projecting their ugliness onto us, and that's what upset me, is the fact that we were beautiful, and they went on to make us ugly, and then had the nerve enough to critique us and criticize us and scoff at us, when it's like, first of all, you're the one who gave us these fucked up attributes. And furthermore, you're still not making any sense, sir, when the fuck you've been raping us and continuing to stick your nasty ass penis inside of us, when we are allegedly these not so beautiful women. And then furthermore, what they did, they mocked us and they figuratively smacked us in the face by basically going, well, we can introduce these concepts like divorce, and we can introduce these concepts like judicial nonsense, so that we can basically, that's what they did, ripped us off so that they can continue being evil and fucking taking advantage of women. Fuck you. Absolutely not. You're not worthy of sex. You've upset me and offended and insulted me so much so that the dragging of the feet and the refusing to ever fucking acknowledge it, correct it on their own, is what set that stone on them, not on the women that they try to trick and deceive into being held accountable for them. Said, you know what, motherfucker, since you don't want to be the responsible man, and you don't want to be the one who is provably showing that you're worthy of procreating with women, fuck you, because you're coming from a place of childishness and immaturity. These women and these men and these children have every right to fucking be upset. They have every right to be upset. They have every right to look at you the way that they wish to look at you, because of what you did to them, on behalf of what you did to our families. Some of these people, they had good mothers, or they had good fathers. They had decent parents, or at least one of their parents was someone who was supportive and helpful. And these, I don't know, because maybe it was the spirit of these foolish ones here, but their children, I hear how their children talk to some of their mothers and their fathers here on earth. And I'm sitting here going, are you serious? Like, I see them going above and beyond, and yet here it is that these children are ungrateful. Some of them, not all of them, of course, but some of them are just the personality and the demeanor of some of these children is just that damn wicked. And I'm sitting here going, no way. I've observed this. And then on the other side of that, you've got children, remarkable children, who have went through terrible things that they did not deserve to go through. And how did that happen? Because they have parents that should never have made them. And we know this, that a lot of parents, or a lot of people, have no business making children, because they don't have the personality or the characteristics because they're not concerned. They're having the children. They were having the children for all the wrong reasons. What is a good reason to have a child? That's a question that I don't even have an answer to. I have no answer for that. Maybe you know better than I do. Why would you have a child? I would say maybe just the possibility. What's the possibility, or what is, I guess, the assumed belief behind that? Why would I want to have a child? Well, I want to give them a life that I never got to have. Or you believe that I don't know. You know that you're a good mother. You know that you're a good father. You know that things can be set straight if you do it. because at the path that it's been going down, it's not, there's something not right. There's something obvious. There's too many things that are not correct. First of all, you need empathy. As a parent, if you don't have an ability to have empathy, fuck you, because you're trash. Okay? That's trash to me. You don't have any empathy? Really? Why are you having children? All right, and then the next, what's another characteristic that you need to have when you're a parent? You need to have an ability to make sacrifices and know what those sacrifices are. For me, what those sacrifices are or were is the sacrificing of fear, the sacrificing of greed, the sacrificing of that which is not physically appealing to me. Is what is not physically appealing. And then you could say, well, that's just as immature as what he did. It's not the same. It's not the same at all. You see, these ones, they created us through their wanting to be rulers. Okay, and they were rulers for all the wrong fucking reasons. They wanted to stomp all over the women and the mothers. And you know this to be true because you can look at their jerseys and you can look at their shoes. Look at their shoes. And that's disrespectful on top of that. Disrespectful. That's what happens when you try to cut corners. And they literally stole our physical traits of beauty and gave us wretchedness. Now now some of us have to wear hair weaves because these dumbass our mothers had beautiful hair. Our mothers had gorgeous hair. I don't know why these niggas are lying about everything because, quite frankly, to me, they are worthless after this little stunt that they've pulled. The only way that they could be corrected is if they went through the process of having to be born again by an actual certified, classified, and accredited to man. And I assure you, no, what I've seen here, you hardly have. If you do have men, they're likely the ones that possibly, I mean, I don't like saying this, but some of them are probably homosexual, really. And that's sad. That's sad. Because why is it that the most attractive men end up being homosexual? Have you ever gotten down to the conclusion of what that's all about? Because I have not. I haven't figured that one out. I have no idea. I'm sure you might know better than I do. I'm not going to read this whole Bible. We want to say goodbye to it. Not saying that you can't read it for educational purposes, but look, there's a lot of nonsense in here. This is a what is it? Bubbling brook. The bubbling brook. That's what this is. And I'm sick of reading. It's sad. I love to read, but I'm sick of reading. I'm sick of having to be the detective around here. I'm sick of having to be the word wizard for you. I'm sick of it. You know, it's about time that somebody does something for us instead of using us and then just throwing us away like we're trash. That's what you guys are, the ones of you who have these caddy workers and social workers and case workers. Shame on you. Shame. You enslaved those people stealing our resources and they're stealing from themselves. They don't owe you nothing. What they owe you probably is a smack upside your fucking head. A couple smacks upside your head. Now I understand why. You damn right I understand why. Because all these folks that try to lead with religion, they are ridiculous. They're swindlers. They're pimps. All of them. I don't care which religion you want to talk about. They're all swindlers and thieves. Right. And then in the meantime, those witches that don't have no remorse, I don't like them. And there are some valid points on the men's side. So like, for instance, there is a lady that I do listen to and she does, she has been very helpful, is Eighth Day. She was very helpful. Many women were very helpful along the way. Now, she had said something about Vashti. Why was she deemed as being the wrong one? I seen a version of Vashti, and Even though I wouldn't say that she's completely terrible, she's not that great either, because her mother, okay, her mother is that is a perfect example of knowing that something's wrong and still continuing to allow the abuse and the toxic cycle to go on. She was okay with this nonsense of having the children being abused that were trafficked, and not just were they trafficked, but then they were altered. They were severed from their own families, okay? And they were forced with the identification of Black, and they were forced with the identification of Mexican. No, we were raped generationally and altered. That's what happened. And because she wanted to basically be okay with passing on her problems onto others. And you could see this from either venue, whether you want to talk about being lighter skin or darker skin, it makes no difference. You can tell which ones are culpable by what type of reality that they're living in. Nobody should be on the same plane, same earth, going through these things at the same time. You can't introduce religious dogma talking about a God and then thinking that the devil is God. And if there is going to be a devil being God, it damn sure going to be me, because nobody else could do it. This is the most pathetic excuse of a so-called God. That is trash. And it's not that hard to say that. That is trash. And I won't worship a fucking weak ass fucking goddamn, like, seriously, he's weak as fuck. To do that to children? You're weak. That's not strength. Look at how many Italians were hung and lynched in America. Look at the Pinocchio story. His nose gets bigger when he lies. And then you want to tell me that we're supposed to keep that around? No. That's not pleasing to my eyes. So then when you're blaming this on us, this didn't come from us. It did not come from us. It came from these ones. It came from so many of them. They were all defiling our bodies. It wasn't just one group of them. They wanted to stay in the same phase, doing the same things, ripping us off, and then enslaving the women. No. When you're talking about the ones who trespassed it here into America, and yet they're bringing their wretched culture with them. And then you want me to sympathize with someone who could cut off a woman's clitoris. I'm not sympathizing with that trash. I'm calling it exactly what it is, trash. How dare you mutilate her body? And then you want her to wear clothing like that so that you are less inept to become aroused? Even when she wears that attire, you guys have still been sexually assaulting her. And then when you're talking about honor killing, and then she's being beheaded, why isn't the rapist being beheaded? Shame. I don't care what religion they're talking about, whether they're talking about Muslim, they're Allah, praying to this one and that one. If they want to be dancing around with a feather headdress on and doing all that craziness, all of that is pathetic. And you know that it is. You know that it is. I know that it is. We know that it is. Because if you don't know how ridiculous that looks, it looks ridiculous. All these rituals are ridiculous. If you want to have a ritual, I could introduce some better rituals for you that won't have such terrible effects on the earth, but you have to be willing to open up and embrace that. Otherwise, what am I here for? You guys felt entitled to do whatever you wanted to do to our bodies, while simultaneously ripping us off and blaming us for it. I'm not going to take accountability for your guys' terrible choices. I'm willing to have compassion on people who did these things in ignorance, but I'm never ever okay with doing what lovers do. And you're okay with using your body to show this. Who's okay with that? I'm not okay with that. Talking about, oh, well, it's provably fair. Provably fair. How can you provably fair with a casino? if you're living under the planes of fate and destiny. Are you serious? Who are you lying to? Stop lying. That's all you got to do is stop lying. Don't lie. Or wait, in the backwards upside down world, they're like, do lie. Okay, fine, lie.